Hello, my name is Daria Bachowski. I'm 18 years old and I'm here today with... Hi, my name is Daria Bachowski. I'm 18 years old and I'm here with SаймъН МакГий and I'm going to ask him a few questions about journalism and critical thinking. Thank you for being here. So my first question is, what is the best part about your job? What do you like the most?
Well, thank you, Daria. It's great to be here. What's the best part of my job? So I really enjoy the communication aspect of government. I really like finding ways to turn things that can be quite complicated or quite remote from people's everyday lives into something that's relevant and that people can understand. I think there's a responsibility on government. I think there's a responsibility on the part of people who are elected on behalf of people to explain what they're doing and explain it well. They have a responsibility to do that, and so I like that challenge. I like the challenge of making things accessible. I like the challenge of justifying what government is doing and how it's relevant to people, and that's that in itself can be quite a rewarding thing to do.
Thank you. Now you have told us that you have worked both in journalism and public service. So what was the transition? How did you feel during that time? What are the differences between?
So in one sense, I didn't feel that there was a massive difference, in the sense that I think when you're a journalist, you're trying to get an understanding of what the authorities, what government is trying to do, and you're trying to get that understanding for your readers or your viewers or your listeners. So it's your job to try and to get the information out, and then when I was working in the government, it's your job to explain it and to provide that information. So in one sense, I didn't feel it was radically different, because I like the process of trying to explain, of trying to enlighten people as to what's going on, and personally speaking, there's an intellectual challenge there. It can be quite difficult sometimes when the issues are quite complex. But whether it's as a journalist or as a spokesperson for government, I think that they're both very rewarding, and I think very important parts of the conversation that countries, democracies, society has to ensure people are a part of it. So people feel that there is a system and there is a society and things are happening for a reason. So whether it's a journalist or as a spokesperson, I think essentially it's the same thing.
So what impact do you think social media had over political campaigns over time and in general, in politics?
So I think the biggest impact over politics that social media has had is the ability to target voters, to target the electorate. So it means that government or political parties can communicate directly with people. Whereas in the past, with traditional media forms, whether it's television, radio, newspapers, the communication happened through a media organization and couldn't happen in the way that it does now, which is very direct and micro-targeted as well. So the targeting of voters by political parties now, for example, is very sophisticated. And there are ways that political parties can influence individuals in a very specific way, with different kinds of messages that they know will appeal to them. That's just the way the world works now. I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I think what, in my opinion, people need to be aware that this is happening. They need to be aware that social media is being used in an incredibly sophisticated way to appeal with very targeted messages to people as individuals. I think sometimes people imagine that on certain platforms that the information they're getting is quite general, and perhaps don't realise that these things are very much targeted to them to influence their vote.
And so are there any dangers when we see political campaigns online, for example, propaganda, misinformation or disinformation? Is that happening, and how can we avoid it? How can we tell what's real from what's fake?
Well, I mean, that is at the heart of a lot of the political discourse today. And of course, what one person believes is disinformation or misinformation, another person may believe is not. So I think, and what one person may consider propaganda, maybe another person doesn't consider propaganda. Maybe they think that is in tune with their beliefs, so they don't think it's propaganda. I think the most important aspect in that space and in that conversation on information is for people simply to be aware that there is this very contested space of narratives, and to be aware that there are forces trying to shape wide public opinion and individual opinion. And it's not for me to say to define what is propaganda, what is misinformation, what is disinformation, but it clearly is happening, and people need to be aware of that, and people need to, in my opinion, try to verify as much as possible. So whereas with the traditional forms of media, you often have journalists who have maybe worked for their television stations or newspapers for a long time, who have a professional reputation for trying to tell a story and explain. Often those people will become trusted in themselves. And sometimes there are people like that online as well. I mean, there's no division now between social media, traditional media, the platforms that people use. Journalists are now using TikTok and Instagram and X, Twitter. So what I'm saying is that there is an element of trust, and in my opinion, people should try to verify with people or sources that they think are credible, and not necessarily just accept something that's from maybe a website that they don't know, or from accounts that they don't recognize. That just as in real life, you would maybe check if you heard a rumor or someone told you something, you would probably try to work out, is that true or not? Who can you trust? And if there are, it's trying to verify and trying to not just accepting things at face value, in my opinion, that you find online.
So, for example, during the Brexit period, this disinformation and misinformation, did it come as a challenge to you? And if yes, how did you overcome this challenge?
So, I mean, you mentioned Brexit specifically. I don't know if there was misinformation or disinformation. I think that there was a campaign. I think that it's hard to verify where all the messages come from. In terms of that was an example of the challenge that we now have, whether it's over Brexit or whether it's over the war in Ukraine and other flashpoints. political and otherwise. I think when there's a lot at stake, when there are big decisions, whether it's elections for national government, when there's referendum votes, for example, then of course the landscape we're in now, there will be a lot going around that's not verifiable, and I think people need to be aware of that.
Great. And now lastly, so we know that you've been studying journalism from university, right? And you were writing the paper in university. Could you share with us one of the funniest or the best stories you wrote in that newspaper?
When I was a student, there was a story we heard about one undergraduate who apparently decided to spend his grant. So years ago, if you went to university, then the state may provide some money to help with accommodation and food and living. And we had heard one story about one student who decided to use the money very efficiently by not eating regular meals, but instead simply living off oranges and oats, porridge oats. I don't know if you have porridge oats here, but therefore saving the rest of the money to just spend on beer. So we put this in the student newspaper, thinking it was very funny. And then the national newspapers in the United Kingdom found the story and then turned it into a national story. That there was a student at this university who was using the grant from the government and was surviving just on oats, just on porridge and oranges. The reason why it was particularly funny is because we never checked whether it was true or not. So we had national newspapers reporting as fact something that we just thought was funny. So what's the story there? The story is, if you are running a newspaper, whether it's a student newspaper or a real newspaper, it's probably best to check your facts before printing.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing this with us. It's been an honor for us to have you here today.
Thank you, Daria.